Our society today is obsessed with controlling their destiny and making decisions that will impact their future. But as a child of God, it's very important and vital that we put our future into the hands of God, relying on Him to take care of us. Today we're going to talk about trusting God with our future. If we're being honest, the future can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming. Not always in a dramatic way, but sometimes in a quiet one. It's subtle. Just sitting in the back of your mind like a question that you just can't fully answer and you don't know all the answers to. What am I going to do next? Am I making the right decision? Is it all going to work out? All of these things happen as we question things moving forward about our future. And if you let those thoughts sit around long enough, they turn into something deeper. They're going to turn into worry. They'll turn into fear. They're going to turn into uncertainty. Because the truth is, we like control. That's human nature. If we can control it, we are way more comfortable with it. We like to know how things are going to turn out. We like to know what the next step looks like. We like to know everything that's going on and that it's going to be okay. But life, as you know, it does not work in this way. And more importantly, God Himself also does not work in this way either. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6 say, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy paths." That verse sounds very comforting at first until you really think about it. Because it does not say, understand everything and then trust God. It says, don't lean on your own understanding. That means there will be moments where you will not get it, you will not see it, and you will not understand it. And in those moments, it is vital and important for you to trust. Let me give you a picture. Imagine that you're driving at night. Your headlights only are going to show you a small distance ahead. You can't see everything as if it were in the broad daylight. You see the road in front of you, but you don't know what's on the side, and you don't know really what's in the distant future ahead too. And so every turn, every mile feels kind of uncertain, but you keep on driving. Why? Because you trust the light that you do have and that it's going to continue to get you to where you need to be. That's exactly how God leads in our lives today. Psalm 119, 105 again says, "Thy word is a lamp unto thy feet and a light unto thy path." It's not a floodlight, it's not a road map, but it is a lamp. Just enough to see the next step. And that's when trust comes in. Because trusting God with your future does not mean that you have all of the answers. It instead means you trust the one who does have all of the answers. Let's go a little deeper with this, though. One of the biggest reasons that we struggle to trust God is because we're trying to control the outcomes of our lives. We want guarantees. We want success. We want stability. We want security. We want to know that the decision that we are making is going to work out. We want to know that the path that's ahead will unfold in success. We want this step to not fail. But here's the truth. Control is an illusion. You can plan, you can prepare, you can think ahead, but you cannot control everything. Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man's heart deviseth his ways, but the Lord directeth his steps." You make plans, God directs steps. That means sometimes your life will not go the way that you expected it to. Doors will close, plans will change, things will happen that won't make a lick of sense in the moment. And it's in those times your trust is going to be tested. Let me give you a story. There was a man who had his whole life mapped out. A career plan, a timeline of events of what he wanted to do, his goals, everything was moving exactly how he wanted it to for a while. And then suddenly a door closed. An opportunity disappeared. A job that he was hoping and planning to get didn't work out. A relationship that he was hoping would be the mother of his child didn't work out. And so Before you know it, the things that he had mapped out on a roadmap for his life all of a sudden now has become in shambles. And his first thought was, man, this doesn't make sense. Years later, that man looked back and he realized that the closed doors of his life were actually the things that protected him of things he could not see at the time. There was going to be problems with that job. There's going to be problems with that relationship. There's going to be problems with the plans that he made. And it wasn't until he had the power of hindsight to realize that God was shutting some doors in his life to really open up a door that was a whole lot better than what he had planned. That's how God works sometimes. What feels like a setback is actually a direction. But you won't always see that immediately. That's why trust is so important. Isaiah 55 verses 8 and 9 say, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours." God sees what you don't see. He knows what's ahead. He knows what's best. And he knows exactly what needs to happen. So when something doesn't make sense, it doesn't mean that God has made a mistake. It instead means you just don't see the full picture yet. Let's talk about worry, because this is where a lot of people live at today. Constantly thinking about, what if this goes wrong? And what if this doesn't work? And what if I mess up here? And before long, you're living in a future that has not even happened yet. Matthew chapter 6, verse number 34 says, "Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself." God is saying, don't live in tomorrow. You're not there yet. Because when you live in tomorrow, you lose today. And today is where obedience happens. Today is where faithfulness happens. Today is where your growth takes place. Let me give you an illustration. Think about you carrying a backpack. God gives you enough weight for today. It's manageable, it's doable. But whenever you start adding to that backpack tomorrow's problems, next week's worries, the future fears of your life, suddenly the backpack that you were able to manage becomes incredibly overwhelming. You can't lift it anymore. Not because God gave you too much, but because you picked up too much that he didn't intend to give you just yet. That's what worry does. It makes you carry things that you were never meant to carry. 1 Peter chapter 5 verse 7 says, "Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you." Not some of your cares, but all of your cares. Let's get practical. How do you actually trust God with your future? First of all, you focus on obedience today. You don't need to figure out your whole life right now. It's foolish to do so because what you plan will probably not happen. You need to focus on this. What is the next step for me? What is the next thing that I need to do in order for myself to be right with God? And then secondly, you need to release control. That doesn't mean that you stop planning. Planning is a good thing. That doesn't mean you stop dreaming. We all should be dreaming about something we desire to do. It instead means you stop trying to guarantee outcomes. You say, "God, I'll follow you, even if I don't understand everything. I believe you. I know that you'll take care of me, and I know that you know the end from the beginning, so therefore, I'll just leave it in your hands because you'll do a whole lot more with it than what I could." Third thing, you need to remind yourself of God's faithfulness. Think back over your life. There were moments where you didn't know what would happen. Things looked uncertain, and you felt unsure about all of what was taking place. And yet God brought you through it. Lamentations chapter 3 verses 22 through 23 says, "It is of the Lord's mercies that we are not consumed." In verse 23, "They are new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness." God has been faithful, and he's not going to stop now. Not ever. The fourth thing, you need to trust on God's timing. This is where things get very difficult for some people because we want things now. We want things quickly. We want things on our schedule. But God works on a very different timeline than what we are accustomed to. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 11 says, He hath made everything beautiful in His time. Not your time, not my time, but in His time. And His timing is always right. So, with all of this in mind, let's bring it together. Trusting God with your future does not mean that you're not going to have questions. It means that your questions don't control you. It doesn't mean that you won't feel uncertain. It means you don't let uncertainty lead you. You let God lead you. And here's the truth. The future feels uncertain to you, but it's not uncertain to God. He's already there. So while you're worried about what's coming, God is already working on it for whatever that is. Philippians chapter 4 verses 6 and 7 say, Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Peace doesn't come from knowing the future. It comes from trusting God with the future. So maybe today, instead of trying to figure out everything, you just say, God, I trust you. Even if you don't see it, you don't understand it, and you don't know how it all is going to work. Because at the end of the day, your future is safest in the hands of God. And the same God who brought you this far is not going to fail you now. So take the next step. Trust Him with what you can't see and keep moving